What do you do when you notice a beautiful woman? Do you just stare at her for a minute, sigh, and walk away? Or do you go up to her and shoot your shot? The first scenario is the easier one. It saves you from potential rejection. Everyone hates the idea of being rejected, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. In fact, why try when there are 9 ultimate ways how to approach a woman that guarantee success? Number 9. She'll make the first move with her body language. Some of the advice floating around on how to approach a woman is outdated. Maybe going straight up to her and introducing yourself would have worked at a different time. Now, it's a pretty common thing for men to do. You don't want to be like the other guys. You want her to think you're different and you're worth her time. For that, you don't really have to do anything. That's right, you just have to sit back and wait for her to make the first move. This isn't to say that you should act disinterested. Women like a man with a mysterious aura, but not someone who's borderline hostile with their body language. On that note, the first move won't be her coming up to you and initiating the conversation just like that. Again, everyone fears rejection, which is why they start with a few signals. Yes, there are always signals when a woman's interested in you. You just have to recognize them. For starters, she'll look at you and give you a sly smile. That's almost always a positive sign. It's also an obvious one. There are a few less obvious signs that come before this too. She'll shift to where you are, standing facing you, and probably smiling with her friends, laughing, or overall looking her best while she knows she's in your vision. The only way a woman will continue giving you signals and make them more and more obvious as time goes on is if you give her a few positive signals too. For example, when you recognize a few telltale signs that a woman's interested in you, show her you're interested too. If she smiles at you, smile back. If you notice that she changed her place in the room just to be in your vision, look at her and show her that you noticed her. Number 8. Don't break eye contact. Approaching women is made out to be a complicated thing. In reality, you just need to ensure that the person you want to approach is hoping you do too. What could be a better sign than someone who's holding your gaze? There's a difference between staring at someone and holding their gaze. When you notice someone looking at you, and you're not really comfortable with it, what do? You look away once, or maybe twice, and you show them with your body language that it's not happening. That's as simple and as straightforward of a no as there can be. But what about a yes? When you look at them, they get shy and flustered. Maybe they don't hold your gaze immediately. Maybe they do right away, but they eventually will. A woman who's interested in a man who's looking at her will look at him right back. There's another rule to be followed here. Don't just walk up to her when she looks at you. Maintain that gaze. Keep it going for a few minutes. Smile at her while you're at it. You're not just showing her that you're interested, but also piquing her interest. She wants to know more about this guy she can't keep her eyes off. You're on her mind now, and that's all she's thinking about. Number 7. Find your opening. You'd have to make your move at some point, right? You need to find an organic opening. Basically, you need to find the right moment. This could be when other people don't surround her, when you're alone too, and when you've established that she's waiting for you to come over to her. You can't and shouldn't go up to a woman when she's in the middle of a conversation with someone else to shoot your shot. That practically guarantees that you're going to be rejected. For starters, it's rude to interrupt someone when they're clearly talking to someone else. Plus, if you break into a group of people, you become a part of that group. Now, the other people she's with aren't just going to leave because you're there. For all they know, you're just some guy who came up to them. They might be civil and maintain a conversation with you, and you'll do the same, but did you just walk over to this group to talk to all these people? Or did you walk over there to talk to one specific person? Number 6. Let her find you. Women like a man with initiative, but when it comes to approaching a woman, you need to let her take the first few steps toward you. Quite literally, you need to make sure that she's the one who's inching closer and closer to you from across the room. Ultimately, you'll have to inch closer to her too. At one point, this becomes a team effort, and both of you know where you're headed. However, she has to be the first one to come up to you. Besides guaranteeing that she's interested, this also creates a sense of mystery around you. She's thoroughly intrigued with you, admires you, and now wants to know more about you. By making the first move, she's also guaranteeing that you're interested in her. Again, it's called team effort for a reason. Number 5. Pickup lines don't work. We're now at the point where you two know this is going somewhere, and it's time to initiate a conversation. How do you go about it? Again, a lot of the advice on how to approach women is outdated. There might have been a time when pickup lines worked, but that time's long gone now. This isn't to say that women don't appreciate a clever and witty one-liner. They really do. The thing is that you don't want to lead with something that'll break the vibe you just spent so long trying to create. So far, you held her gaze, walked over to her while she was coming up to you, and now you've killed the vibe of mystery by cracking a wise one. Also, you never really know what the other person will and won't find funny, so why take that risk? Number 4. Show her you're observant. So how should you start the conversation? You need to show her that you've been eyeing her for a while, and you've made a few observations. Talk to her about something you noticed that'll prove to her you've been interested in a hot minute. A woman wants to know someone who knows what they want and isn't afraid to show it. Don't start with one-liners or conversations about the weather. You're trying to approach a beautiful woman you're interested in. The best way to keep her interested in you too is to show her that you're observant. Talk about what she was doing earlier that evening, maybe how beautiful she looks when smiling, anything that falls within those lines. What you don't want to do, however, is imply that you've been doing nothing besides looking at her. That would border into being creepy. Only mention the things that are worth mentioning. Don't talk about the people she was with. Focus only on her. Tell her that you think she's beautiful because you caught her laughing a while ago. You don't want to pinpoint anything that's not worth mentioning because that'd give her the impression that you had nothing else to do all evening. Number 3. Listen more, talk less. You have her attention, you've sparked a conversation, and now you're here. Now what? Approaching a woman is made out to be more complicated than it really is. The truth is that you have to let everything flow naturally. So far, everything you've done has organically led to this moment. There weren't any gimmicks or over-the-top antics. Everything came as it should have. But we're now talking about maintaining her interest. How do you go about that? It's simple, really. You let her do the talking. This is just so you can pick up on the little details she adds. When she's done talking, mention them back to her. Women will add tiny details to test if a man is really listening. When you answer back and mention them, you've passed the test. Besides that, you want her to take charge here. Let her be the one to talk while you listen and observe. Don't overdo it by acting uninterested. That'll for sure drive a woman away. The key here is to maintain interest by maintaining the mystery that intrigued her to walk over to you. Number 2. Be confident. Women love confident men. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. A confident man isn't the loudest voice in the room. He's not the guy who keeps yapping for hours on end. No. It's the guy who has his shoulders down, is relaxed, and going with the flow. You don't want to be overconfident or underconfident. There's a fine line between being interesting and being someone she'd wished she'd never met. Confidence shines through when you're easy to talk to, easy to vibe with, and it's obvious that you're not forcing or faking it. Number 1. Leave her wanting. In the end, the one way you can guarantee that this whole encounter was a success is to leave her wanting more. When you're talking to her, make sure that you pique her interest with a few facts about yourself. Don't play your hand at once, but make sure she knows you have the right cards. You want her to stay interested in you via the conversation you're having. If you reveal everything about yourself, then there's nothing she'd want to come back for. What are some of the ways that have helped you approach women? Let us know in the comments down below.